your name as a Muslim are being stigmatized because of what is happening there. And I agree with you and all of you about educating the community, and this is what we're doing right now too. So it's letting them know that this is just small groups doing the big damage to a name. And as well as you said, it's not only to the Muslims. Colombians suffer a lot because of the drug dealers, there being the Italians with the mafia, and there's too many things that over the history.
Oftentimes people think that it's the Muslims who are the #1 perpetrators of terrorist attacks against the Western world. But that's actually inaccurate, and the media overemphasizes that. But if we were to take a look at the statistics, Muslims are not the #1 group of people who are responsible for terrorist attacks. And in fact, Iraq is the #1 country in the world who gets the most terrorist attacks out of all countries, other countries, from ISIS. So we have, you know, terrorist attacks from so-called Muslims on Muslims. They're killing Muslims.
The theme is really heavy. We can talk about this for years. But what should the community do or understand about the hijab, about what the movement or the Muslims, all of them, are suffering because of what these groups are doing?
So I think it's important to just understand that the hijab for many women is just one part of their identity. We're a whole other person beyond just what we cover our hair with. So many of us have professions that we're very proud of, that we work in, whether we're doctors, lawyers, business professionals, teachers. We have that aspect of our identity. Many of us associate ourselves with what the roles that we play within our families and our communities. As mothers, daughters, sisters, community activists, you know, role models, leaders, that type of thing. And so I think if there was a message that I could give out is that the hijab is just one aspect of who we are. We choose to cover ourselves much in the same way that you choose to wear a dress shirt or whether you choose to wear ripped jeans. It's just another form of who you are and identifying yourself. It is also a very important part of our religion. It is one part of our faith. Whether you choose to wear it or not is a kind of a personal part of your personal journey, but it's still, like I said, just one facet of so many other things.
Barbara, can you tell us your experience?
So I grew up in a very small community of less than 16,000 people. So it was a not very diverse community. There were no other Muslims wearing the hijab. So it was a very, I guess, brave decision on me when I came to grade 10 in Swift Current, Saskatchewan, to be able to put it on. And it was something that I did out of the blue. I was not planning on wearing it. And then the day before school, I was like, hey, I'm going to go wear it. And so it was quite different at first. I got a little bit of stares, you know, but you know what? It was actually something that I thought really helped with my self-confidence. It really helped with giving me an identity and really growing of who I am today. And like, you know, we said, it's not just a modesty thing, it's very multifaceted, but really it helped me with being a person, like who I am as a person. So
how was the process of putting the hijab on, wearing that? How was the reaction that you got at that moment?
Okay, so I put it on around 2006, and at the time I actually got a few weird stares. I even had someone throw apple cores from the bus. Thankfully he had bad aim, so I never really actually got hit. But I did get a few things. I got people whispering behind me, so it was kind of a bit of a struggle for me. And I know there's other people who have no struggles. It was very easy, but because I was in such a small city, I did contemplate taking it off because, you know, maybe it wasn't right for me. But I ended up sticking with it. I had a couple friends who weren't wearing the hijab with me. They'd walk home with me. And as I started to make friends, really, I integrated really well. Like I said, it was a very quick decision. I had not planned on wearing it at the age of 15, but you know what? When you feel like you're ready, you're ready. So, you know, it's different for everyone, but that was the process for me. It was very quick, very easy, and I'm very glad I did it.
Okay, that's the story of Marwa, your experience. Thank you, Marwa. We're going to go for a small break, and when we come back, we continue in the Muslim view. Community things that is going on inside of a Muslim family. So, Imam, as a father, how that is being a father of a girl who is growing, a Muslim girl?
How Islam look at the family. Family in Islam is very important element, and if you see that through the books of scholars and those who were driven from the verses of the Quran and the teaching of our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, we can see the family that's really take pages explaining how the family structures has to be performed, and how the family has to be active, and also to build the strong family. And therefore you will see that talking about family laws and family structures in the books of Muslim scholars, it take more than even talk about prayers and other worship of act of worships. So it's a beginning. It starts from the beginning when the marriage took place. When the marriage took place, that the husband and the wife has to choose themselves on some basis, that the husband has to be religiously devoted, and also he should choose a woman that's religiously also devoted, that the message can go smoothly to the kids, and they don't need to tell them to pray, they don't need to tell them to fast, they don't need to tell them to wear hijab. That in my case as a father, I did not have I did not do that. So, because my wife was deeply religious family, she belonged to a religious family, and also from our sides. So when we take care about our kids, we prayed in the house, and we fast, and we practice the simple Islamic practices that everyone's doing, and we did not have we did not tell them is to wear the hijab. When she reached, my daughter, especially Rihab now, when she reached the age of puberty, she came to me and she said, "Dad, I'm going to wear the hijab." This was smoothly, and it's not forced. Because in the end of the day, as Sister Sarah said in the beginning, if you force someone to do something, this will be against the sincerity, that you're not doing it for God, you're doing it for your dad. And if you're doing it for your dad, or if you're doing it for your mom, it's not going to be accepted, because God only accepts whatever you do for him. You don't do it for others. If I'm praying only to be seen that I'm praying, or if I'm paying zakat only to be seen I'm a generous, or if I'm learning Islam only to be called as a scholar, then this will be against me in the day of resurrection. So it won't help me. So when it's going to help me? By educating our kids. What you're doing for the sake of God, and you have to practice what God's telling us exactly in his book. And if we do that, then we will be safe in the day of accountability.
Okay, so now we can say that basically nobody's force. It's something that comes to them. So then they take the decision, the girls, they take the decision to wear the hijab without being forced, without being obligated to wear it. And can we say that it's a normal way to do it? It's normally in all the Muslims, the Muslim families, that's the way it works?
So I think there's, growing up in Canada, it was very important for me to express myself in terms of my culture and my religion, and to separate it. So my religion is Islam, and I follow certain practices within that. And then my culture is being an Arab Canadian. I grew up in a household where my parents were immigrants, and so they have a lot of Arabic traditions. We see that sometimes the hijab is an element of both religion and culture for some people. The religion of Islam believes that things should be done based on the person's decision in their own sincerity. And that's how it is with the hijab. So as we talk about on this panel, we talk about how it's a choice that a woman should make for herself. We do see that sometimes there's cultural practices where they believe that the family comes to that decision for you, or that because you're part of a certain community that you must abide by certain things, whether that be the hijab or whether it be other things, certain marriage practices, that type of thing. So if we kind of make that divide, we can then say that religiously it should entirely be a choice that the woman makes. However, culturally, sometimes there's other noise in that some families or that some people practice in terms of their understanding of the hijab and how it should be enforced. So you see these very stereotypical stories that we hear of the fact that, it was probably her father or her brothers who forced her to wear the hijab. Honestly, when I was trying to think of if I can think of anybody who has fallen under that, out of all of my groups of friends, and I do have many, many Muslim friends who are from very different cultures, I actually don't know a single one who has been forced to wear it.
And the important thing is we're going to try to make kind of compressing what we've been talking. So it's a choice. It's an individual choice which is not forced by the families. So I think we're going to go to a break right now. We're going to go to a small break, and when we come back, we're going to continue with this. This is going to take a few days, I think, in order to finish this panel and to get into deep conclusions. But roughly, we are talking what is being a Muslim woman and wearing a hijab. Now we're going to go and talk after this break. We're going to talk about what happened in our society where the problem is a big, big problem. So we'll be back in one moment. Okay, we have here Rehab Taleb. Welcome to the show.
Welcome, hi.
Okay, Rehab, we are very young. We're not going to say how old are you, but we know you are in high school. How is being growing as Muslim and wearing a hijab in the school environment?
Sometimes you feel like you don't belong, and you just feel like people look at you differently all the time, and if you don't dress in a certain way, you feel like people won't accept you in the school. And I have a lot of friends who tend to always be very closed up because they don't want to open and they don't want to be like very outgoing. And so I don't like that because then people think you're very depressed and everything, right? So I always try to be an outgoing person, always happy to show people that whatever they see on TV, all that violence is not true. And luckily I do have a lot of friends and everyone in school is very nice to me. Yeah. Okay, when you started wearing the hijab? When I was 11 years old. Okay, so not very long ago. Well, no. Kidding. But anyway, you started wearing the hijab when you were 11. And over that time, from the moment you started wearing the hijab till today, have you had any problems? Not necessarily, but I do remember as I take the bus to school, the city bus, I was standing and there was a person on a wheelchair who needed space, and so I was moving backwards and this lady comes up to me. She's she's an old lady, comes up to me and says, "There's no space for the guy, you need to move." And there was plenty of space, and so she was kind of yelling at me and shouting like, "Why are you here? Just kind of move back, and where am I supposed to go?" And everyone was just staring at me at that point, and no one did anything. So it kind of ruined my whole day, and to see that someone like that was treating me bad, I just didn't understand why. I didn't do anything bad to you, right? So I I've grown to understand and to take in that I will be treated differently and people will discriminate me sometimes because I'm different, and you really... Why you're different? Because I wear the hijab, obviously. But you think you were different? I personally don't think I'm different. There's this image that people see me in as a different person. And that image that you feel people are looking at you is because of what? Not only for the hijab, but or for what? It's probably because what they see on TV, and they see that all the violence that they're viewing and they're watching, and as they're with hijab, it's a symbol that I'm a Muslim, right? So they take it in that I might be violent, and that's not something that they believe in. Like, they don't like violent things, right?
At school, you have friends, it's more Muslim friends?
I have Muslim.
Wearing hijab?
Yeah, I do, and I have Muslim and non-Muslim friends. But you also see the struggle that my friends are taking. Like, I just recently had a friend who took the hijab off because she felt like she didn't belong, and she's like, you know, my dad's against it anyway, and I'm just gonna take it off because I don't feel comfortable. So some of my friends definitely do struggle.
And we can say that there's, other than discrimination, there's bullying because of that going on at school?
At the school I go to, there isn't necessarily any bullying. People are very accepting. But I do hear in other schools that there is bullying because they just either don't want to be your friend, or they don't like you, they make fun of you, you know. I guess.
How you deal with that when you're talking with your friend, with your Muslim friends, women, girls,
Yeah.
with wearing hijab? What the comments? What were your comments about this?
Like about the violence, like the bullying.
Yeah.
I usually tell them to either shrug it off or always talk with respect, right? Because if the moment you start turning and maybe you swear because you're mad or anything, they're gonna be like, that's gonna prove something to the bully. They're gonna see that, oh yeah, see, they are like that. They are violent. They are rude, right? So I always tell them, speak with respect and always like stay true to yourself, right? Yeah.
But when you're talking with them, when just you're all confident and you start talking, what are the comments that are coming up?
From my friends?
Yeah, from everyone. Yes.
They feel hated, and they feel like they just shouldn't, you know, they shouldn't be there, kind of. And sometimes my friends are like, you know, sometimes I feel like I should take the hijab off, you know, my hair is nice and everything. Like, I don't want people to think I'm ugly and everything, so, yeah.
Okay, Rehab, thank you very much. This is how a perception of a girl from high school have, what they're suffering, what they're living out of wearing a hijab. And but especially the response from the society for these girls because they choose to wear a hijab. So thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll be back in one moment. Imam, what do you think about the reaction of the community? Because the community is being divided. We know there's Islamophobia going on, and there's people who are just pro-Islam. So what do you think about it?
I would really have two suggestions, one to our community and one to the outside community. To our community is to engage more in all civil aspects, to help in different areas, and to succeed in all their fields, because we do have doctors, we do have engineers, we do have lawyers who are well equipped, who are well knowledgeable, and Muslims also have now the mayor of London, England, he's a Muslim, so we can also interact in a society positively, is to really let the others see what is the true Islam is, and not to take it from the media only. To the outside community, I would really also suggest that that this discrimination and racism, it exists, and it exists in many societies. So we believe the Canadians are, that our society, Canada, this mosaic, this beautiful country, it's based on this understanding. So the awareness among the Canadians through their agencies that need to be uplifted. And we should not allow racism and discrimination against any groups to exist, because if it exists, then this is really it's damaging to our image in the world. Canada has a wonderful image in the world because of eliminating discrimination and racism. We do have it, but the level of it decreased in years before, but now it seems is increasing against Muslims. So we need to really stop that, and we need to educate our society. This is unacceptable, and this is what Islam came to tell us, There is no difference between white and black, and no difference between yellow and red, and no difference between Arabs and non-Arabs, except with piety. So people should not be judged according to their colors, according to their religion, according to their ethnic backgrounds, according to their gender even. So they should be really, people have to be responsible for their actions in terms of if they're really against the law of the country. So then we have to work together to eliminate the racism and discrimination on all levels.
The only issue maybe that I had is that because I actually took that decision before coming to Canada. So when I came to Canada here, I didn't second guess myself. I didn't want to take it off, but it was a little bit hard of all the questions of people asking me, why are you wearing it when you're so young? And then all the other beautiful questions that people ask. Like, I had legit people ask me, do you actually have hair? Like, are you wearing this because you're bald? And it's, of course, it's not because of that. It's because I love the hijab, and it's something in my nature.
Do you think it's fair for women to be treated like that, as you mentioned, just because he's wearing a hijab?
I don't. Of course, nobody is. It's not fair for anybody to treat anybody differently because of the way they look or the way they choose to wear whatever they're wearing. I think everybody should be treated equally. I definitely don't treat anyone else who's not wearing the hijab differently because they're not wearing a hijab.
Why do you think people are treating that is happening? Why?
I think it's because of Islamophobia, basically, and I think people are afraid of what they don't know. So I think if we educate people on why we're wearing, why we're actually wearing the hijab and why we're actually dressed this way and what Islam is all about, they would maybe get to an understanding where they're not afraid of it. But I think it's our role to educate people and let them know that why we wear it, and that's why we did the panel today, which was very good. I really enjoyed the talk of all the panel members. They were amazing. And I think we should do more shows like that and go around in the community and integrate more in the community so that they would understand. And if they have any questions, they should just come and ask us, right?